Hi, my name is Jake Myers. Today is part 3 in my 10-part series for building muscle for beginners. If you haven't already seen part 1 and part 2, go check those out. Today we are talking about volume, so let's start by defining what is volume. Volume is just defined by the number of sets you're doing weekly or per workout. So if I do 3 sets of hamstring on Monday and 3 sets of hamstrings on Thursday, that would be 6 sets weekly or 3 sets per workout. For the purpose of today's video, if I'm talking about volume or number of sets, I'm referring to the weekly volume. So what is the big debate? Well, it's between a high amount of volume and a low amount of volume. You have guys like Arnold and Tom Platz who are in favor of high volume, doing anywhere from 30 to 40 sets weekly. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have guys like Dorian Yates and Mike Mentzer, sometimes only doing 1 set weekly. So who is right and how many sets should you be doing? The answer is kind of they're both right. Anywhere from 4 to 25 sets will build muscle. But the literature shows, and on average for most people, the more sets you do, the better. So working on that higher range, anywhere from 10 to 25 would be an optimal amount of sets per muscle. But 4 sets will still gain muscle. I've had progress on 4 sets, and sometimes that's the only option, with your schedule, and I'll get into all that in just a second. But on average, the more sets you do, the better. Again, there are some rare people who will grow better doing less, but as a beginner, I have to assume that you're the average, and most people are. So all things considered, the more volume you do, the better. How to choose the right sets for you? Well, there's really 4 factors that come into this. Number 1 is recovery. You notice recovery is a big topic in these videos. That's because recovery is where muscle growth actually occurs. So, of course, recovery is very important. Delayed onset muscle soreness. If you're not recovering in time for your next workout, and let's say you're doing 15 sets weekly, and for your biceps, and your biceps are just melting. You just can barely move them. You're freaking sore at work and school. Chances are you are doing too many sets. And also recovery can play into muscle group. Some muscle groups, like the hamstrings, only require anywhere from 4 to 6 sets. Yes, you can do more, but at that point you won't be able to walk. For a lot of people, if they train their hamstrings with good intensity, good diet, good sleep, if they're hitting them anywhere from 6 to 8 sets weekly, they're just freaking sore. Like, that's more than enough. But for other smaller muscle groups like arms, shoulders, you could be doing, 12 sets, 15 sets weekly, and you're like, I think my shoulders are sore. So general rule of thumb, big muscle groups, hamstrings, quads, chest, back, glutes, sticking on the lower side of sets to start off would be good. Biceps, triceps, shoulders, calves, you could be forearms, and abs. You could be doing a little bit higher sets just to start out. Another factor placing this is time. Some people, like I said earlier, don't have time to be doing 20 sets in the gym. There's just no time for that. They work a full-time job, and I totally get that. So what you can do is, if you only have a limited amount of time, at least be shooting for 4 sets weekly, 2 sets on your first workout, 2 sets on your second workout, so that you're still growing some muscle. Yes, it's not optimal, but at that point you have to do what you can. And yes, on 4 sets, you will be gaining muscle, you will be getting stronger, you will be looking better, getting closer to your goals. It's not as optimal, but it is something, and that's the most important thing. A third factor is growth. This one is a little bit more subjective and shouldn't be your main way of determining your volume. But every 2 months, you could look over how you started, how your physique looked 2 months ago and how it looks now. And if you're doing 10 sets of chest weekly for 2 months and you're noticing really good growth, then you don't necessarily have to up it. Keep it at 10 sets and see if you can keep progressing with that. And if you can, that's perfect. But if you're doing like 5 sets a week for chest, and for 2 months, your chest looks the exact same. No difference at all. Well, it definitely couldn't hurt to try 6 sets, 8 sets, just keep working your way up. And again, the fourth factor, anywhere from 4 to 25 sets would be great. So what do I recommend for beginners? Well, I recommend that you guys start at 4 sets weekly. So 2 sets on your first workout, 2 sets on your second workout for that week. And each week, I want you to be adding 1 set or 2 sets, depending on how you feel. Again, doesn't really matter. But eventually, what's going to happen is you're going to get to a point where you're not recovering on time, where you're not getting the same pumps, where you're plateauing a little bit on your strength, where you're not seeing the growth you have been. And at that point, I think it's pretty safe to say that you've reached your maximum recoverable volume. And so once you hit that point, anywhere from 4 sets to whatever that maximum recoverable volume is the right answer for you. Any number of sets in there is perfect. And you can try different styles. So you can try a high volume block where you are training closer to that maximum recoverable volume. And then you can try a low volume block where you're closer to that 4 sets. All the answers in between that are right and are personal to you. So the only way to tell is through weeks of training, experiment, keeping track of how you're feeling is important. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. That is a quick summary on how to determine your volume and what volume is best. In the next video, I will be talking about intensity, how hard you should be pushing in the gym. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you haven't seen part 1 and 2, go check those out. See you guys in the next one.